Everybody has a story, and every story needs to be heard. On this podcast, we are talking with each member of the General Conference Leadership Council. I'm your host, Alyssa Truman, and this is ANN Profiles. Today, we have with us Gerson Santos. He is the Associate Secretary of the General Conference. Good morning, Gerson. How are you?
Good morning, Liz. Pretty good. And you?
I'm doing good. I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning.
Oh.
I'm still on a jet lag situation here, but
okay.
I'm guessing you get more jet lag than I get.
I understand very well.
Where was the last place you flew to?
Oh, has been a few days, but I came last time from Florida. So that was
Florida's
just
same
a
time
weekend.
zone.
Yeah. So that
Florida's
doesn't
same
count.
Time zone. No. I came from South Africa.
Oh, awesome.
But
the month before, I literally went around the globe with a few different appointments. But I'm so glad I don't travel for the next few weeks.
Oh, isn't that delightful?
Wonderful.
Anyway, so Gerson, you are the Associate Secretary, one of the Associate Secretaries here in the General Conference. So I think some people don't always necessarily know what these titles are. Like if you're an American, you might think a secretary is like an administrative assistant. That's definitely not what this role is.
Not really. Mm-hmm.
So what exactly is under your purview as Associate Secretary?
Well, if you ask my son, he would say, Daddy travels around the world taking notes and attending meetings and taking notes.
This sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes, but I do a little bit more than that.
Yes, you do. So what is under your purview?
There are 7 associate secretaries. And each one of us, we have some responsibilities outside the building and inside. Inside, I'll say I have one of the major committees. I'm the secretary is GCLC, the General Conference Leadership Council, where all the department director, officers, department director, and associates are part of it. So it's a large committee, 150 people, something like that. I'm also the secretary for the Church Manual Committee, which is extremely important because we deal with editorial changes, addition of new texts on the church manual, which is for the local church, it is, after the Bible and Spirit of Prophecy, the most important document we have as a church. And in addition to that, I'm also the secretary for the Disciple Making and Reclaiming Committee. That's another huge issue we have as a denomination. You're probably aware of that because we've been losing for the last years. Around 50% of those who enter the church start leaving, and give or take it, probably in a couple of years, we lose half of those that we baptize. That's average around the world. So because of that, we have this big initiative developing a disciple-making process because we identify that the problem, low retention rate is a symptom, but the real issue is lack of strong disciple-making process. Outside the office, I have the responsibility of being the liaison, kind of link between the Secretariat of the General Conference, the administration, to 3 world divisions, the 3 Americas. So even though I travel to other parts of the world, this is my major responsibility, which does not...
So my home division is your territory, I guess
yes,
you
it
could
is.
say.
So North America, Inter-American, South American.
Okay. Do they normally keep you guys by like Americas, Europe, Africa, or whatever?
We try to, but I had South Asia, West Africa also. So depends on the configuration of the team, we adjust. So we have a new associate secretary coming in a few months ago, so we change our responsibility. So I don't have to travel so often to Asia or West Africa.
All right. So I know this is supposed to be about your life story, but I feel like it's important for people to understand your job because I introduced you. But I did have one quick question.
Sure. Go ahead.
So Church Manual Committee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked about that.
Every GC session, we vote on new things because you can't just change it. Those changes can only go into effect at a GC session, correct?
Yes.
Mostly.
Mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
go ahead.
All right. So sometimes it seems like they're just like grammar changes or like little things. How are those how do they make it so many years sometimes without being caught? I've always wondered this. So I just have to ask.
That's something. I think people some people have a gift of finding, minor issues. And I guess this is not my main gift, but I've been developing that. And once in a while, I find, a misspell in the Bible or one of our main publications. It is possible. Human error.
Human error.
Has nothing to do with the content of the message. But when you said, oh, the changes should be taken to the general conference session, you're correct. But these are major changes. There are minor changes you're referring to, like a comma, a missing comma that can be, to make it sound better, or grammatical. Some very minor things. We bring those changes. Well, there is a process. Someone made the recommendation. It could be a person inside of the building, division. Usually a division, it could be from a person, sending to the local church, to the local conference, union, division, then they recommend, and finally comes to my desk. So I look it over. Tammy Bauer is the assistant recording secretary for that specific committee. So we work together, and then we try to make sure that it is pertinent. There is a reason for that. If I'm not sure, anyway, I'll bring to the chair. We have 2 chairs, 2 of the vice presidents. So we decide we're going to put this in the agenda. Okay. So then we have a small committee inside the building. That small committee will deal with that, read it carefully, adjust the content, the wording, and then bring to a larger committee. Once a year, we meet with this larger committee with, administrator, pastors, lay people from all over the world. So they come for annual council. A couple of days before we start annual council, we have this large committee, over 100 people. So we present something that was already, well studied and, prepared for. If it passed that committee, we submit the changes to the annual council. So annual council has to vote it. And that's the difference. If it's a common, just one mistaken, misspelling, which is almost impossible to find, but it's possible. Those very minor changes, as voted at annual council, stays there.
Okay.
So we record it. In a couple of years, when we publish the new church manual, those changes will be included. But any change that is substantial in terms of content, meaning, deleting a paragraph or a sentence, or adding a new paragraph, or like the last session, we have a whole new chapter about disciple making. So that has to go to the general conference. Okay. So in theory, you're correct. All changes.
But there's little things.
Yeah, those little things. I mean, we're not going to bring to 3,000 delegates to discuss if we should have had a comma or not. That would be nonsense.
Like this word was misspelled. It should have been an A, not an E.
Yeah, those little small things, it finishes their course on the annual council, and then when we publish the new book.
Okay. Thank you for answering that, because I just was always a little bit curious on how that kind of worked out. So. Yeah. I know that's not your life story, but it seems like you have to be a semi-detail oriented person to be able to kind of
a little bit
maneuver through all these things. So let's go back to little baby Gerson.
Okay.
Where were you born? Tell us a little bit about your family, your parents, where you were brought up.
I was born in a city called Santos. No wonder. Honored my name, right? No, it has nothing to do with my name. But I was born there.
They named it after you.
Yeah. But I was born and grew up in Santos, which is a small island, but highly densely populated. So it's a city about 500,000 people. And
is it northern Brazil?
Southeast.
Southeast.
We consider southeast because it's the last. São Paulo is the last state in the southeast region before going to the south. But it's close to São Paulo, about 35 miles from São Paulo. So I grew up there by the ocean. So I love the ocean. As a teenager, I used to go to the beach every day, literally. Maybe not on Sabbath. My mom didn't let me go. But usually I would go to the beach every day. And I always attend public school. So because we have shortage of buildings during that time, we have same building used for different schools. And so most of my middle school and high school I went to school in the afternoon, so that will give me a lot of time in the morning to go to the beach. So that's my, childhood. But I used to attend church every Sabbath, of course. My mom was Seventh-day Adventist. She just passed away 4 years ago, just before the pandemic. But my dad was not during that time, but he always supported us. He used to drive us to the church, and then he would stay asleep in the car. But he was very supportive.
So, was your father a Christian or just not
Yeah,
Adventist?
he always been a Christian since
Okay.
his childhood. He was Catholic, very engaged in Catholic church. But as he grew up and as a teenager, he left his hometown and went to trying to get a job, a better opportunities in life, and he was connected to a couple of Seventh-day Adventists. So he started attending occasionally Adventist church since he was, probably 19, 20. And when he was 30, 31, probably, he met my mom in a youth rally in one of our colleges in São Paulo. And since that time, they engaged, they started dating and got engaged. And in a few months, they got married. And so since then, he has been supporting my mom, always involved in church. She was a teacher, but very engaged in different responsibilities in the church. And I had 2 older sisters. So we are always involved in some church activities, especially new church plant. My mom used to support, my older sister playing the piano. So that's what I remember from my childhood.
Okay. So, were you involved in Pathfinders growing up, or any of those? Did they have those kind of youth things in your home church?
I don't think we had. I don't remember.
It's okay.
No, I was, as I said, from my early childhood, I played soccer. I used to play soccer every day. No wonder.
Soccer and the beach.
Yeah.
So you would go to the beach in the morning, then soccer in the afternoon.
Yeah, that was my life. So I don't think we had Pathfinders. And we had a small Adventist school, but it was in the other side of the city. So I didn't have that opportunity either. So, but I remember as I was probably 9 or 10, I heard in church they were offering us to share some, witnessing material, voice of prophecy, Bible studies. And I had a problem because my house was in the front of a plaza where we have the school and a small hospital. And that was the point where the kids from the street would come to meet before going to play soccer, And they come every day. But on Sabbath, my mom didn't let us play soccer. So they could come, but we couldn't play. So what I did was, we didn't have anything to do, so I took some of those lessons and I started sharing with my friends. I think I was no older than 10 during that time. And a few months later, they called me in front of the church saying that I was a young missionary because I was sharing the gospel with, the kids on the streets and even Bible studies. I really look at them and say, really? I didn't realize I was doing that. But that's how I think I got, attracted to sharing the gospel and reading the Bible with others.
Now, did you read the Bible a lot when you were growing up yourself? Was this something that came easily to you? Was it a challenge at times?
Can I say the truth?
That's what we're hoping for here.
I used to read the Bible, not very often, but I used to study the Sabbath school lesson. I guess Sabbath school lesson helped me, since I was in kindergarten, helped me to get, leading me to the Bible. And when I was young, until my late teenage years, I think that's when I opened the Bible, when I was doing my homework for Sabbath school. That's what I remember.
Because I think sometimes we think that it should be easy, but it's not always easy to
I think it's easy, but it's not natural.
Yeah, you go.
It's different, right?
Yes.
I think it is easy. It just requires a little bit of intentionality, but it's not natural.
Because you could be out playing soccer.
Yeah.
Or swimming at the beach.
Yeah, exactly. Or surfing. That's my passion.
Oh, surfing.
Yeah. But, that was when I started, 14, 15, then I started. Before that, I was just playing soccer in front of our house. So that was, close by.
Okay. Do you have a moment where you think that you can kind of define as like your conversion moment?
Mm-hmm.
Like a moment that you kind of gave your life to Christ?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can report all the way back to the day of your baptism. But I was baptized, I was 10, and I still remember. So that was important. But later on, you know how it is. Your feelings, your dreams, and everything that is happening around, your friends, school, and then, the girls, that start getting your attention. So I would say was my late teens, probably 16. I was 16, early 17, 16. I remember I went to church on a Sunday, I think it was a Sunday night, because we have a group of co-porters, just girls. And I went, I went to play ping pong, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You went to play ping pong.
Yeah, and then I decided to, instead of take the bus, walk back home. And that was a long walk, probably 4 or 5 miles, maybe 4 miles at least. So I start walking, and I came through the beach, walking on the sidewalk of the beach. So it was beautiful, and I remember like today, it was dark night, but have a lot of stars. And I look up and I said, this is huge. It's so big. It can't exist by itself. And I always been intrigued by, physics, science, stuff like that. So I thought if the whole universe exists and has an order like this, someone has to be behind this. And if this being is in charge, I need to know him better and know what he's expect from me. And I think that was the turning point. If you ask me, that was the day of your conversion, maybe. That was the day that I have a special, personal encounter with Jesus, maybe. But
it's a moment that stands out to you.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's a whole process from my early years in the childhood, attending Sabbath school, my parents, with my sisters and friends going to church, at least on Sabbath. But then you come to the point that everything adds up. And then one day you have to think seriously what I want, for me, or even better, what God wants from me.
Did you find it a challenge to go to public schools as an Adventist?
Not really. Yes and no. Maybe in the beginning, not in the middle school, even before the early years, we used to have school on Sabbath day. And of course, I never attended. But then in the middle school, I remember I have one class that was music in the public school. They have just one class, that subject, and was on Sabbath. So I never attended. And I had a good reason for that. So I wasn't so, and my mom was well known in the school because she was a teacher there. And I don't know how she handled that Sabbath, but that's another story. I can't ask her now. Maybe my older sister will know, but I don't. But anyway, when we got to the point that I would lose that year if the teacher didn't give me an option. So what she did, it's a bit embarrassed for an early teen. But this is what she did. She said, okay, so you didn't attend my classes, and you're gonna miss the whole year. You're gonna lose the year. I can give you an assignment, and you have to do that. If you do it, you pass. I said, okay, just give it. And then she said, we have the national hymn of Brazil, which is a huge, long hymn. She said, you're gonna have to sing it by yourself.
Oh. Do you like to sing?
No, I was
that
11.
Seems horrifying.
I was 11 maybe, 11, 12. And so we came to a compromise and said, okay, if I know the words by heart, can I present like a poem instead of singing? That would be even more difficult, right? If you don't use the melody. But for me, it would be easier. I said, okay, no problem. If you give me the right words. And then I have to study the whole hymn and, and present to her. I'm so happy thinking about this today. That wasn't before the whole class. It was just for her on her, office. But I made it. As far as I remember, that was the only situation that I really had a problem. Besides that, always being a good student. Not that I did all the homework, but I knew how to get good grades. So I always have good grades.
So you hit your high school years, and apparently you're still going to the beach and,
That was the
playing
peak.
soccer. Surfing. Now that's kind of fun. So how did you get into surfing? Or is that just something that the kids did there?
Well, that during that time, that was natural because surfing was it was becoming during that time very popular. Beach boys, California girls, and then there was a movie, Endless Summer. See, those kind of things all came at the same time. And then there was a young man at the church that I heard. I never went to the beach with him, but I heard he also surfed. But he wasn't attending church anymore. But my sister told me about it, and she was so excited. She told me, said, I want to try that. So I got aboard, and I started surfing. And then,
And the rest is history.
yeah.
Do you still surf?
Once in a while.
This is like kind of great. I love it.
Well, it's easier skateboarding on my street than surfing.
So you skateboard?
I better not say that. And
Oh, no. I'm here for this. Do you longboard or do you use a shortboard?
I prefer longboard because it gives a little bit more stability because Columbia has a lot of ups and downs. So it gives
Columbia, Maryland, not
Yeah.
Columbia, the country.
No.
Just
Columbia,
for anybody
Maryland.
listening
Yeah,
to this.
Columbia, Maryland, that's where I live. So you have some, small hills. So it's fun, but with a long, it's safer. Or it would be safer if I use a helmet.
I totally want to... Wait, you don't use a helmet?
Don't say that in front. Maybe
this
we
is
have
great.
a kid listen to us.
So for anybody who's a kid who's listening to this,
Don't do
do
that at
not
home.
do
It can be very dangerous. Yeah, don't do that. No.
So I totally want to see you skateboard now.
No.
You should go to a skate park and show how you skateboard.
It's okay. I prefer the streets. It's more natural. I know. I don't know. It's more dangerous, so don't go to the streets. Yeah.
Okay. My daughter's bought skateboard. I
Oh,
bought a skateboard
really?
for my daughter.
Okay,
and then
make
my
sure she
other
uses
daughter-
helmets, gloves.
So one of my daughters
gears,
is very big into like all the things. Like she'll make sure she's like decked out. My other daughter would probably be doing the same thing as you, being like, "Oh yeah, everyone do that," but she doesn't use it.
Okay.
But she's an adult now, so she
so
gets to make
she's
her own
safe.
decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's safe.
Well, hopefully.
But I got them shorter boards. And I tried to get up on it, and I decided that I'm not a skateboarder.
No, as an adult, you shouldn't try it. Okay. That's my advice.
Okay.
Don't even try it.
So this will not be the new hobby I pick up for this year.
No.
Nope. Okay.
No, you can go fishing or play chess. There are other things you can do.
Neither of those sound interesting.
Bowling.
Bowling? Do you bowl?
Yeah, once in a while. Bocce. It's bocce. It's
Oh,
nice.
see, that one I don't mind.
Yeah,
It's like
that's-
small balls that you like throw at. Yeah.
That's fun. That's
I
fun
haven't
too.
found a place here in the area to do it. Well,
Columbia. We have.
everything's in Columbia.
Everything
Apparently,
is Columbia.
the hills
Yeah.
for.
Oh, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, so sorry, that was a whole fun tangent there. But I just felt like I learned a whole lot more about you now. You are a skateboarder. Okay. I don't think when I passed you in the hallways in this building that I was going to look at you and be like,
yeah, but don't
"Hey,
advertise that. Don't say that in public.
this is all going like live on YouTube, right?
Oh no, too late now.
It's okay. You just became so much cooler in so many people's eyes.
Well, real people do that, no?
Real people do things like this?
I think so.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You mean we're real people?
Yeah, normal.
Yeah,
people?
we're normal.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm normal.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So you're getting to the end of your high school years. Did you know what career you wanted to have? What
Of course, I knew.
All right,
yeah,
what
I
was
have
it?
everything planned up.
Excellent. What were
Yeah,
you going to
an
be?
engineer.
You were an engineer.
Yeah, because I like, put things to work, fixing things. I always like it.
Okay. So you go off to college. Where do you go to college?
Yeah, well, the best one would be in my country, the government schools are usually better, with few exceptions. But there are some large public colleges that are more prestigious school. So I applied for the best one.
Did you get in?
Well, that's an interesting story because I prepared for it. I knew I had to prepare because going to a public school, it doesn't give you enough foundation to pass the exam. There is a difficult exam, and the better the school, the harder the exam to pass because you have more people competing for the number of openings for that school. So I spent first I start studying English. My middle teens, I started studying English on a private school. And then on the last school of high school, I went, and during the day, I went to a support school, kind of preparation school for the exam to enter the university. And then after that, I would go to the regular high school. So I was well prepared. So in that school that I applied to, they have two exams. The first one I did, I passed, easy. But that was the challenge. Because of my background in surfing, I was also fixing boards and using with fiberglass. My brother-in-law just bought an old, you know what is a boogie car? Those cars that you drive on the dunes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So he bought one, but it had to be fixed. It wasn't an accident, so the fiberglass was all broken. So I start fixing that, and during those days that I was there, I was already in vacation, waiting for the second exam to take place in a few weeks. And my sister was just graduated from the nursing school in our Adventist college, today university, UNASP. And I had a friend. The school wasn't over yet on UNASP. And I had a friend from my hometown. Oh, actually, my sister's friend. But I knew him well. And he was graduating in theology. And he knew I was there. So he said, oh, come over and attend one class, one day. And you come to attend. And I did. And that changed my mind. I knew I had to do something else. So early in January, we have both exams from the Adventist School for Theology and the public school for the engineer school at the same time. So I didn't go to that. I went to UNASP, and I was well prepared. I passed in the first place in that exam because I was well prepared to take another course that would be way more difficult to enter. And that's it. Then I did 4 years of theology major.
Okay, we're going to unpack that just a little bit here. So you were pretty certain you're going into engineering. You were prepared to go into this. Yeah. What happened in this one day visiting this college campus that changed your life?
Well, it wasn't just one day. Remember that a few months earlier, I had that walk by the beach. Remember I mentioned that earlier. So I think it was a series of events that took place, and God was preparing me for something else. I didn't know, but he knew.
But what happened when you went to that campus that kind of, because you could still say, I want to follow God and go into engineering, but going into pastoral is very different.
Yeah, it is.
It's very different.
Yeah, and I don't think it's for everybody. And I don't think you have to go to Adventist college and take a theology major to serve God. I don't think so. For me, that's what I understood that I had to do. And when I went there to do that, exam, the entry exam, I still remember the title of a dissertation. They have some, multiple choice and also a dissertation that you write about it. And the title was something like this: if you don't live to serve, you don't serve to live, something like that. And that was exactly what I was thinking. The best thing I could do with my life to serve others was to prepare myself, understanding better God, and from that, build a foundation to do whatever God had in mind.
So you end up enrolling at UNASP and going into theology. Tell me a little bit about your college years.
It was very busy. I don't know why, but I got involved in different things. Leadership for the, academic center, choir.
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 Was that because of that music experience you had?
Yeah, I had a lot of my background in music, band. Also, I used to play clarinet during that time.
My daughter plays clarinet.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Tell her, never stops. Because if she stops it's hard to pick it up again.
Hard to pick up
oh,
again.
it's
Okay.
terrible.
She plays the harp too. Clarinet and
awesome.
the harp.
Yeah. Well, both needs a lot of techniques, but
Yes, they
the
do.
problem with the clarinet is if you lose it in a couple of days if you don't practice very often. But anyway, so I was involved in a lot of things, trying to keep up the grades, playing soccer once in a while, and of course talking to the girls on campus.
I love how honest you are about that. And talking to the girls.
Yeah, I was talking to the girls, but dating the one that I married to. But she came on the second year that I was there. That was, was good.
What's her
that
name?
Was good. Layla.
Layla?
Yeah. And, okay, since I'm talking about Layla, that's a very interesting story. Since she saw me, she fell over me. Literally. First time we met.
She literally fell on you.
Yeah, literally. She might say that the story a little bit different, but this is what happened.
This is the real story.
Yeah, this is the real story. Okay. I just came back from canvassing because my dad was a little bit, remember, he was an Adventist, and he was disappointed when I didn't go to the engineer school because we all had plans for that. And in the first few months, he didn't help me much with the school. And I didn't have any money. I was 17. And I never worked in my life. So I went canvassing during the summer. And then I got some money. And then I came back to register that for my second year. But theology program started 1 week after, education school and nursing school. So most girls on campus come for those two careers, nursing and education. And most boys come for the theology. That's the way it used to be 45 years ago.
I wasn't asking you to date yourself.
Yeah, no, but I'm giving you 45 years ago, yes.
I just celebrated 25 years from high school, and I can't believe that. It's hard.
It goes so fast.
It does.
Oh, my goodness.
When you were kids, you feel like time never, it just takes forever. And then we become adults, and it's like...
Yeah, I remember seeing people 40 years old. Oh, that's old. Now I'm more than 40 years that I graduate in college. Anyway, I came to register the week before the class started, and then I would go to my hometown, visit my parents. So I register, I paid the entry fee, the enrollment fee, and then I went to the cafeteria. It was dinner time, so I had dinner. I saw a lot of new people there. I didn't know them, so I ate quickly, and then I came out because I was planning to go on the same day going to my hometown. When I was walking out of the cafeteria, going down to a few stairs, like 4 or 5 stairs, I saw a group of 3 or 4 girls, all dressing on blue. That's the uniform for the education program, the education school. So I was in a hurry, so I passed around right, at the end of the stairs. And as soon as I passed them, I noticed a couple of them that I knew from the year before. But somehow, those young blonde girl fall over me. And she embraced me. Of course, I hold her because she was falling.
So gentlemanly.
Yeah. But then I realized they planned that. Her friend actually, give her the elbow to go over.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That's your story.
That's what happened. You can ask my wife. She might say a different story, but that's what happened.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
I definitely need to know your wife.
So yeah, well, don't ask about this story then. But we went walking across the campus because there are two, during that time, there was 2 buildings with girls staying. The main girls' dormitory, but she was in the other one. There was one level was girls on the lower level, and the top 2 stores was for the they were for the boys. Anyway, I walk with her to, her.
Just to make sure she's okay.
Yeah,
After
just
falling.
chatting. That was her first year, so she wasn't there the year before. But she told me that she was already enrolled. She was in college on her hometown, so she was already, she was at least my age because she already had 1 year, or maybe older. And I remember as if today, I asked her, and then I asked her, so what year you were born? And she said, well, that's the first year, the same year I was born, okay? So we may be the same age. So then I asked, because I had the feeling I didn't want her to be older than me. That's the bottom line. Yeah, very... Okay.
It's okay.
No comments on that. But I was concerned, so I asked her.
Very concerned about this.
Yeah, I asked her, so what month? And then she said, July. Oh, what day? 8. So it's just exactly, I'm from June 30th. So 1 week.
Oh, good. I mean,
1 week.
man, otherwise, if she was like...
Oh, no, that would be a problem.
You could have
no,
even
Yeah, probably, yeah. Totally different story from that day on. But she's younger than me. Yeah, so I remind her very often. She has to respect me. Yeah, I'm older, so...
You know what's interesting is I hang out with a bunch of people in this building, and I realized I was older than them all. But if you look at them, they all look older than me. And it makes me feel very special because it means I'm smart. I'm older. I'm wiser. And they should definitely remember that.
Oh, yeah.
They don't,
agree.
but that's okay.
No, I agree. Oh, they should.
I'll give you their names and you can let them know.
Okay, yeah,
Okay? After the recording.
Yeah.
All right, so you meet the woman who becomes the love of your life, obviously
Yes.
because you're so much older and mature than her.
Yes, of course. 8 days makes a
8
big
days.
difference.
It is. It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
So you get through your schooling. How soon after you graduate do you get married?
Well, that's another interesting thing.
I'm here for it.
Some of my friends got married the day. I have friends that got married the same day they graduate because they are ready to go to the field. And I thought the same way. Wow, I'm ready to go. I want to serve the Lord. So I got a call last couple of months before graduation, and we are ready to go. But about a year before my graduation, because she changed the school, she had 1 more year in school. She couldn't graduate during the same time. So she actually lost her first year.
She lost her year.
Yeah. Well, she didn't lose. She gained the whole life. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
coming
no
to the Adventist school.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, making new friends.
Meeting you.
Getting married. Okay. Bottom line. And where are we talking about? Yes.
When you get married.
So about a year before that, we discussed that. I'm graduating, I'm most probably going to get a call because I have some, contacts. I didn't know anybody, but because I was doing well in school and I have some leadership position, I was the choir director because of my skills of carrying the razors. That's the main skill required for that position.
Excellent. Good to know.
Yeah. And also in the, academic center there, I had some responsibilities, class president, stuff like that. So, but she said, well, Daddy, my dad told me, you will never get married before graduation.
Good father.
Yes.
Very
good advice.
Father.
Yeah, good advice.
I got married before graduation.
Oh, so
it makes it very hard.
I can imagine. Yeah. Especially because we are moving out. I knew I would not work in the vicinities of the school. So that would be a big challenge. So anyway, we decided, okay, so we made plans. I go and work for a year as single, and then we got married at the end of the following year. And this is what we did. So I graduated in December 82. I started working early 83. I served for 1 year, single. It was on the other side of the city, about 30 kilometers in São Paulo. If you've been there, you know the traffic, how good it is.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's
They
terrible.
made me drive in it.
Oh.
At night.
Who did this? I mean.
I'll give names afterward.
Yeah, okay. So So I work for a year, and we used to, sometimes my mom would come and visit me, and my fiancée would come to visit. So we spend the weekend together. A couple of other times, my future mother-in-law would come and do the same. So, but we were together almost every week, literally. If she wouldn't come for the weekend, I would go. Monday would be my day off. I would go to campus and spend at least the afternoon and evening with her. So we got married in January of the following year.
Okay.
So that's a long answer to your...
It was okay, because it was a fun story to get there.
We still have a few minutes, right?
We have a few minutes.
Okay, so let's move on then.
We now know you married the love of your life.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And that your story is the correct version.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so you go into ministry. How long do you serve at this first church?
1 year, because I was single. And usually, they put to assist a young person to assist a mature pastor. So I have a senior pastor in the district. It was a large district. Exactly, if you've been to São Paulo, exactly where the airport is.
Okay.
The airport wasn't there yet. So see how long ago it was. So they are already building the tracks. But it wasn't operational yet, just a few years later. But the area that I cover was around the airport. It was a large district, and my senior pastor say, "Young man, you go to that part of the field and do whatever you need. When you have someone to get baptized, you call me, I'll go." But I did more than that. I planted a few new churches. I organized a church.
In the first year?
Yeah. And every morning I passed by his office. He would come to his office was at the Central Church, where we have a school. And I used to do some chapels for the school and Bible studies in the area. So I would come every morning talking to him. We prayed together. He gave me some advice. And I asked a few questions about ministry. And then I would go to the field. And that's the way it was the first year. And the work grew a lot. I baptized some people. We organized a few churches. And the conference organized a new district there. And of course, they brought up a young pastor, married, and put on that district. And they transferred me to the farthest one, the most distant district the conference had.
Are you married at this point?
Then we got married, and then we went to the new district.
Okay. So are you still in Sao Paulo?
State. But outside the city now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many years did you serve at the second church?
Oh, that was very good. It was very exciting because I have nine cities in my district.
9 cities.
Cities, yeah. Small towns, most of them. Some with, 150,000, 50,000. The others a bit smaller than that. But I thought to myself, I think, God sent me here. I need to place a small group of believers in each of those cities. And I just had 3 cities.
So out of the 9, there was currently only 3.
Only 3. Okay. So I start going every day to a different city, every day of the week. So I would go this day of the week, I go to that place, visiting people.
So what do you do when you're in this city? So you start your day, what are you doing?
I visit the mayor.
Okay.
I visit any Adventist in the area. If there is a Seventh-day Adventist, I would visit them, trying to motivate them, starting contacts and starting Bible studies, and then trying to do a short campaign, evangelist, and then trying to get, interest to continue Bible studies.
How long were you there?
Well, after 2 years, the conference organized a new district in the area because we went from 4 to 12 congregations. And then I felt bad because I couldn't go to those places that I loved them. I mean, we organized 2 new churches in that area, and but it was kind of distant, and they put another pastor there. So then I concentrate.
So you're creating a lot of work for your conference.
Yes.
You're having to hire new people because you keep.
2 more years they hire another one. So in 4 years we had 3 districts where I was working.
Wow.
And I wasn't ordained yet. So from the beginning of my work, I thought that's what pastors supposed to do: evangelism and organizing new churches. I thought all the pastors were doing that. Then I figure out that's not true. But I thought that was supposed to be our call, because according to the Bible, looking at Paul and his missionary journeys, and looking and reading the Spirit of Prophets, this is what Ellen White says, that the pastor is supposed to mobilize the church, equip the church, train the leaders, and go to start work in new fields. That's what she says. And I believe in Ellen White.
I do too.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the Bible and thanks for assuring. The Bible and the Spirit of Prophecy. We're supposed to follow that, but unfortunately, we don't. And that's one of the reasons that we just voted a few weeks ago, 2 months ago, in annual council.
A few weeks, 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. 2 months
we
ago.
lose track of time.
Yeah, annual council. We voted several paragraphs, 2.5 pages, describing this other facet of the pastoral role, emphasizing, disciple making, evangelism, training the church, mobilizing the church. So this is recommended to go to St. Louis for the new church manual.
What's interesting to me is because at the beginning, you talked about these different committees that you're on, church manual, and then the disciple making. I don't remember the whole.
Disciple making, reclaiming.
Reclaiming. That was I forgot the reclaiming part. And in my mind, I was just learning a little bit more about your job. But intriguingly, now that I've had this conversation with you, you're kind of like the perfect person to be sitting here on this, because this is literally how you've always seen it. This is your job.
Yeah, well, I think we easily can stereotype people, right? Well, church policy, church manual.
Yeah, it's fair.
Who likes that? Right?
I actually do read them for fun, but
okay. Well, I have a friend. He asked for baptism after reading the church manual. There are people that.
Yeah, there's some of us who are a little weird
yeah.
that like reading stuff
like that. Yeah, I know, weird people. This is not real my passion, but I see the need. How important it is to have documents that are based on the Bible and the Spirit of Prophecy that will facilitate mission. That's why those documents exist, not to prevent us of doing mission, but to facilitate mission. And because of my background and experience in ministry, I really believe I'm in the right place now.
It's amazing because when you were thinking that you're going to be an engineer, okay, you would never thought, oh, actually someday I'm going to be an associate secretary at the General Conference. When you're sitting there planting all these churches, you were not necessarily thinking these things. Yet God is actually creating in us the gifts, the talents, the experiences. He's allowing us to go through struggles and challenges that shape us for different calls that we're going to have later on. We don't understand it in the moment. And sometimes we think, oh, we've reached, I'm going to say, the pinnacle. This is it. And actually God's like, oh, I have so many more plans for you. Stop thinking so small.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I really believe in what you said. I really think that's the way life's supposed to be. I'm in a stage in life now that my son-in-law says that's the transition of the convergency. That's a nice way to say that I'm getting old. The real success in life is not, at this point in life, is not what you do, but who you are helping and mentoring to do the work. So that's another part of my personal ministry. We didn't have time to talk about it.
Oh, no, we have a little bit more time. We're going to get
so
there. We're going to get there,
Okay, you asked that later. But I was just a comment on that point regarding church manual and work in the office. During some time, I was working in Florida in church planting and evangelism.
In Florida?
In Florida. And that was my passion. Ministry-wise, the opportunity, nice budget. I never had, and living close by the beach. Who can dream about something better than this? Right?
I feel like I should give you a thank you gift of sunscreen after this.
I never lived so far from the ocean like here in Maryland.
It takes a good 3-4 hours to get there.
Oh my goodness, so far. But anyway, it's easy to get a plane and go to Florida. I was saying, a friend of mine, the pastor of my church, he came to me and said, oh no, you're not going back to the city because I got a call to go back to New York. I worked there, I was gone, and then they called me back to be executive secretary. And the
Of
pastor,
where?
this in New York. So the pastor,
Greater New York
Greater New
Conference?
York.
Okay.
So this friend of mine said, "Oh, but you're not going away. This is not for you. I don't picture you as a secretary." And I thought about it. Well, that something happened that we decided to go. But saying this because God is always preparing you for the next chapter.
And we don't.
You don't know. It doesn't matter.
We
you
just
don't
have to keep turning the pages.
And
He's writing the story way over here.
Exactly. Concentrate on this. This is what he gave you today. So do it the best that you can, in spite of you, by the power of God. Okay? Be focused, intentional, and write a nice page. Because something is coming, and it's going to be another adventure. And it's going to be awesome. Because he assured us that he has good plans for us.
So it sounds like you eventually leave Brazil.
Yes.
For ministry in America.
Yeah, I was called to pastor a Portuguese-speaking church in New England.
Where in New England?
New Bedford, in Massachusetts.
So I grew up in the Northeast.
Where?
So, upstate New York.
Upstate New York.
Yeah, that's why I asked Greater New York Conference
New
or not,
York,
because
yeah.
I was from New York Conference.
Yeah,
so
it's very different.
It's
New
very
York
different.
and Greater New York is extremely different.
Very different.
But I had a church in
but we love them both.
Oh yeah, of course.
But we love them both.
Same family, but different kind. So I had a church in Massachusetts and another one in Rhode Island, in Providence, East Providence. So when I arrived, of course, a couple of years later, we have 4. And I was also the ministry coordinator at the conference, so we went from 4 congregations, Portuguese-speaking, to 16 in 7 years. And I was also coordinating the Portuguese ministry in North America. We planted several churches around North America during those years. Yeah.
So you went from New York down to Florida.
So from New England, I came to New York. I was personal minister of school, and then I went to Florida, evangelist, church planting. And that's when I start changing a little bit methodology.
Okay.
Because till now, coming from Latin America, Brazil, and working among immigrants in New England and Greater New York, immigrants, I still didn't arrive in America. I didn't understand the church in America. Went to Florida, that changed my mindset. I started looking the other side of the coin. I mean, we had a different church, non-immigrant, Caucasian church, or African American, but more American. I mean, immigrants that came a couple of generations before.
Got it.
So I started developing a different strategy. And during that time, I just finished my program at Andrews, doctoral program. And when I arrived in Florida, I started developing a new network. And one young man came to me, and he was one of my church planters. He said, I'm doing this doctoral program at Fuller, and let's go. I said, I just finishing the program. Took me years. I shouldn't say how many years. 11 years to finish my doctoral degree.
I love say I shouldn't tell you, and then you tell me.
Yeah, I shouldn't have told that.
It's okay.
And,
but you got through it.
Finally,
That's
I
the
did.
important thing.
And I know how hard it is. And this is why I already helped many people. I mean, more than a dozen that got stuck on their program and couldn't write.
I'm going to remember this.
And I helped them to finish.
Not that I'm saying I'm going to work on a doctor. I'm working on my master's right now.
Excellent.
But everyone keeps telling me, so you're going to work on a doctor. I'm like, no.
One thing at a time.
Yeah,
you'll get there. Yeah. just go one thing at a time. But that's what I do in that aspect. I help people that are doing their dissertations because I know that part is extremely difficult. But I decided to go, so I attended this program there, and that solidified some of the concepts that I was starting learning as I connect with a more diverse community. Because we say New York, of course, New York is diverse. But when you have 90% of membership are from 2 islands, it's not so diverse, right? So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So you go to a conference that is like a third during that time. Now it's almost half Hispanic, but the other half is predominant, Caucasian. Then you have diverse. You see different kinds and types of pastors and churches. Anyway, So why I was talking about this?
You
asked me
changed your
something.
methodology.
Exactly. And one of the things that was 12 years ago, with this friend of mine, the church planter, we started developing a strategy, which became later a network for church planting. And this is organic. This is a worldwide movement. We are today in 5 different divisions. There is no budget, no website, no publication. But there is a strong leadership. We even have a program for leadership pipeline, developing leaders in our structure. And we have 30 sites that we offer residencies for church planters. So we have hundreds of church planters around the world.
Unofficial.
No, it is official because we are planting Seventh-day Adventist churches.
Yeah, but like it's not. How do people find out about it?
Oh, by invitation only. That's how Jesus did.
Okay.
Disciple making is by invitation. You don't post on the internet. You don't post on Facebook. No, it's by invitation. That's exactly the opposite we do as a church. See, during Jesus' time, disciple making was done like this. A person heard about a rabbi. So he would, because he advertised his teachings, so he would go there, find where he lives, and stay with him. So the disciple picks the rabbi, the master.
But Jesus flipped the script.
Exactly. So they came after him. Remember John chapter 1, the 2 John the Baptist's disciples coming after Jesus said, "Where do you live?" Why did they ask that? They were not just curious, because they want to go to school. And he said, did he give the address?
No.
No, because he didn't have one. But he said, come and see. Come and experience. Disciple making is through relationship, and you have to experiment that. So Jesus flipped, like you said. So he didn't have one place, was an itinerant master, rabbi. And he selected his disciples. Remember, he spent the whole night, according to Luke, he spent the whole night in prayer. And then chapter 3 of Mark says that he elected the 11. Well, came out to 12. And some parts of the Bible says, oh, he just elected 11. The other part says he select 12. Well, Ellen White explains that very well. Desire of Ages, you can get the whole story there. It looks like there was some
plug for.
Yeah, some
go to egwritings.com.
Yeah, exactly. And some politics in the church, inside the church, they had that. So the other disciples thought, oh, this should be the first one to be elected. Well, you know the story, the rest of the story. But anyway, Jesus changed. And that's a long answer, a comment for what you said. So we do not publicize. A lot of people don't even know I do that. But we have today 5 catalyst leaders around the world. And we actually, our main function is to train and equip hosts, leaders that will start residencies. And we give support to those leaders. But that's not part of my job.
This is what you do for...
That's my personal call. That's God's call. We have, church call, assignment, and you have your personal call.
I'm going to say this. I have something I'm going to say at the end, but there's 2 things we're going to get to. So you get called to be an executive secretary, which is kind of out of the blue kind of feeling, because you've been like church planting and all this. So like ministerial director or something, that seems maybe a more logical fit. So you become an executive secretary. Mm-hmm.
Well, it was kind of out of the blue, but not really. If you go back in history, and I still remember that, 30 years before that, I was a young pastor. I was in a district doing what I already told you, evangelism, church planting, visiting people. The conference president said, I want you to be the secretary. I don't even know what the secretary did. But that was 30 years before I actually became. Well, fast forward another 10, 15 years, I was in New England, and the conference president came and asked the same thing. He said, no, that's not for me. And I gave him a few names.
It was very nice of you.
Yeah, because I'm good to find names, and give assignment to people, find their jobs.
Good to know.
And he finally, the committee select someone else. My name was not in the list. And then you fast forward again another 10 years. And then this call. In a time where I told you before, I was living in a place that I love it. My wife had a good job. I had a good budget. And I have 3 full-time teams, couples of evangelists working with me. It was awesome. That's why my friend said, oh, this is not for you. You're not going. And I have someone from the division, my supervisor at the division, because of my other job as, Portuguese ministry coordinator. He told me, oh, I couldn't believe that you would accept that. Anyway, I went to New York. A few months later, Elder Wilson started, with this dream of mission to the cities. And somehow my name came into the list. And there are some interesting parts of that story, why I was called to work at the General Conference. I tell people, because I answer an email. That's the main reason. Yeah, because
so for those people who don't answer your emails.
if you don't check your answer machine, your WhatsApp, or your email mailbox, you're not gonna work at the General Conference. If you go there, they're gonna fire you very soon. I answered that because General Conference was starting this mission to the cities, and I was busy doing secretarial, work as an executive secretary. But at the same time, my colleagues, the 2 other officers, they asked me to coordinate mission, and I was not evangelist director, but I was coordinating mission. So I have the evangelist budget, and I was promoting church planting, organizing evangelistic meetings, plus the secretarial, office work. So why I answer email? Well, it's a long story, but people from Global Mission send emails to all the conferences in the area, and I was the first one, well, later I found out, the only one that answered, saying, please come and help us with the New York preparation for the NY13, the New York initiative for the mission to the cities. So they came. I started connecting with some of them that I knew, others I never heard about it. And then, they had a shorter list, 3 names, and fine, I became the first, mission to the cities coordinator or director. But I was still in New York. I was still serving as executive secretary. And this is why I started working for the General Conference in 2012, but I remained there until 2014, when they have the session and elect a new secretary there. And then a few months later, I moved to Maryland area. So like you said before, you concentrate in what you're doing, but God is preparing, something else for you. I had no idea. Well, 2015 came, and that was another surprise, because I was in that position of the Global Urban Mission Center for just a couple of years. And then the executive secretary of the General Conference come to me, and that moment was, the boss.
This is GT?
GT, the boss of your boss, come to talk to you. It can be good. You're in big trouble. And I was challenged because, that was, even though I've been executive secretary for 4 years in a local conference, that wasn't, the dream job that would say, this is my career. Mm-hmm. But he said, I heard you can speak Spanish, so it has to be you. We don't have another one now. So the other one declined, or there is no other option now. It's you. And this is going to open up, more opportunities for you and open your vision about the church and the world. So, okay. What can I do? So that's how I came to Secretariat. And then coming to the Secretariat and be part of the team, and then I realized that Secretariat is the umbrella for this, what they call, we call it mission family. Everything relates to, that is related to mission is under Secretariat. So that's the perfect spot.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people think of secretariat as the rules and the notes and the whatever, but actually mission is at the heart of what
Yes,
secretariat
yes, it
does.
is. Yeah, definitely. We have three most important areas of secretariat. One is the administrative part of it, as one of the officers, administrators of the organization in each level. You also have the clerical part of it, which is preparing agendas, preparing minutes, taking care of church manual, policy review, stuff like that. And you have mission. And mission is, like you said, that's the front seat, the driving seat of secretariat.
So we have to wrap up now.
Okay.
So I'm glad we got you to the GC here in our
Excellent.
journey.
So you're getting there.
You spoke a little bit about mentorship, and I've actually heard you kind of talk. You've touched on it in different ways, but as we close up, I would love for you to just share a little bit about your thoughts on mentorship, and also kind of like just leave us with like, what would you say to leaders who are serving now, whatever level you may be at in the church, about mentorship?
I learned I learned this long time ago when I saw. See, we have a challenge in having, career planning inside the church, for obvious reasons, and because we have this democratic election process. We think that if I'm preparing someone to replace me, it sounds like politics, or I'm protecting someone, nepotism, or whatever. It doesn't sound good. I understand that. However, I always think that when time comes for me to pass on or turn the page and go to,
The next journey.
the next journey, next adventure, I have to be prepared to give 3, 4, 5 names to replace me. I spoke to a group of 400 or 500 church elders. That was a month ago. And I told them, if you're an elder in your church for 30 or 40 years, and when the nominating committee comes together to elect the new officers, and they say, oh, there is nobody else to put in that, something's wrong with you. If you, after 1 or 2 years, you didn't prepare anybody to replace you, you've never been to that place firsthand. That's the way I understand. So preparing leaders, and that's why from the beginning of my ministry, I've been involved in training, mobilizing the church. That's what I did my whole life. And now with this ministry acts and developing leaders for the church planting movement around the world, that's what we do. We recruit, we select, recruit, empower, equip. Equip, empower, either way. So I would say any leader should focus on leadership development. This is the first, most important responsibility of a leader, is to form and equip new leaders. That's what I think. During the pandemic, that was terrible, and we lost some people close to us. I mean, the whole world suffered with that. But it hurts my heart saying that, but for me it was a blessing. I stayed home for almost 2 years, no traveling. I cleaned my garage. I cleaned the backyard. And I did a certification in mentoring coaching. So I'm a professional coach, and mentoring is what I've been doing my whole life. Now I have a certificate that can give some, credentials for that, and gave me, of course, more tools and competences to be more effective in something that is my passion.
So I'm going to be honest. I wasn't really sure what to expect today when you came in. You might be one of my top 5 people I've interviewed.
Is that good or bad?
That's a good thing.
Okay,
it's a good
thank
thing.
you.
Okay.
I'm happy for that.
You had a lot more humor than I was envisioning. You always seem very serious whenever I
I'm
see you.
serious
You're
about
a very
it.
serious person.
Yeah, I am.
But I've passed you in the GC multiple times. It doesn't mean we actually talk. And that's the thing. I think there's a lot of us, we just pass each other, but we don't know each other.
That's common on this building.
I am so grateful that you have allowed God to continue to write the adventures in your book, and that you've just willingly turned those pages.
Exactly.
And I know that you are right where God needs you to be at this time in Earth's history to help fulfill the work of his church.
Thank you.
And I can,
the word of affirmation.
it's
I really believe that too.
it's very obvious to me now. You're not just someone who's sitting on a church manual committee. You're someone who sits there thinking through the mission of the church. You're someone who desperately wants to help people to fall in love with their Savior. And it was very clear in our interview, your love for God, your love for his people, and your love for his church.
Amen.
So thank you for saying yes, for answering the emails, and for choosing each and every day to show up and serve.
My pleasure. Well, thank you for summarizing in a beautiful way. I'm glad you're recording this. Because I want to go back and listen to those words again. I sign on that. I really believe in that.
Thank you so much, Gerson.
You're welcome, Alyssa.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of A&N Profiles with my special guest, Gerson Santos. If you haven't already, please take a moment, subscribe to my podcast, the YouTube channel, wherever it is you're tuning in from today, because I don't want you to miss any future episodes. Thank you for spending this time with me. I know your time is precious. Join me next week as I continue to get to know the life stories of more inspiring leaders.